Welcome to Hope in the Halls, Christian voices from Washington, D.C., sponsored by Hope to the Hill, also sponsored by Can We Pray, with your hosts Nathan and Amber Kistler. Learn more about Hope to the Hill at www.hopetothehill.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Another episode of Hope in the Halls. We're here with some very special guests, some of our dear friends.
Yes, some of our best friends in the world. Welcome to the podcast, guys. It's The Sound.
Yeah.
Rob,
Here we are. That's me.
Jacob, and
Yep.
Levi.
Hey.
Guys,
We're here.
it's 1:06 in the morning.
It is 1:06 in the morning.
In Beijing.
Once again, Nathan and I are in another state doing a podcast.
We're in Tulsa.
We're in Tulsa. Well, that's the city. We're in Oklahoma.
I mean, you know what I mean. I know what I mean.
It's 1:06 in the morning, cutting some slack.
That's why. Yeah.
We're in Oklahoma.
2:06 our time.
Yeah, that's true.
I do some of my best sleeping at 1 in the morning.
I know you
Me
do.
too.
And, we just finished the first night of the Gaither homecoming here.
Yes.
Yep.
Amber sang beautifully, and y'all sang wonderfully well.
Oh.
And but since we had a little pizza party with the artists,
Yep.
and now we're here at 1:07. I wasn't gonna say. Well, you all could sing beautifully. I guess.
They do sound beautiful.
Is beautifully better than wonderfully, or is wonderfully
I was
better
using
than
like a female term, and then for y'all like, saying it.
Because I felt beautiful all of a sudden.
I'm glad you did. It's wonderful. But guys, we wanted to have you on because y'all have been in DC quite a few times with us now.
Yes.
And we've enjoyed. I really want to get your perspective a little bit on your perspective on DC before you came the first time, and then maybe moving into. You guys came last summer in June, did a concert. We walked the halls together. We've done some other events together, but Father Mills, as I call you, Rob.
Yeah.
What was your perspective on DC, at least when you think of Washington and Congress and all of that? What was your perspective before?
Well, I guess I would say that my perspective on that would be that it's something I'd never seen in action, and so we had never really got to see that. And so to go into DC and to have the opportunity to witness some of the congressmen and women, and some of the senators that are there, and to at least engage with them, even just briefly.
Yeah.
It puts more of a personal touch to it.
And you guys met your member.
Yeah,
Your
we did.
district,
We
right?
did.
Shout out
She's
to
in-
Lisa McLean.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah.
She's fantastic. And a matter of fact, it was wonderful getting to spend time with her.
Yeah.
Just incredible. Getting
And you
to spend time
sang.
with her.
You sang to
We
her.
did. But you're able to put faces with things that are going on, and you don't often get to. I mean, I shouldn't say you don't often. We never have had the opportunity to do that until
Right.
then. So.
Well, I think one of the things is I think most of the time when you picture United States congressmen and women, or anybody who works in the federal government for that matter, you're picturing, these people that are almost untouchable. You know what I mean? They're these world leaders, and they're extraordinarily busy. They're big personalities. And a lot of congressmen and women do have big personalities and great personalities, but it's cool even briefly getting to spend time with them because they're just normal people working a job. You know what I mean? You're walking in, you're talking to them. It's almost they're just in the middle of a work day.
Gives them a little
You know what I mean?
humanity,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's cool to see how all that works because it's it's a little bit of a glimpse in a day in the life. And I will say I was shocked, I would say, at how very, very, very busy most of those members are. And I mean, their staffers are very they're the organizers, you know what I mean?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
They run the government.
They
yeah,
do.
oh my word, their staffers, they've got the members' day planned out, you know what I mean? And the members got I mean, I remember when we went in there, it was like, okay, well, we got 15 minutes. You know what I mean? We got 15 minutes, and then they've got to be here, and they might be there for half an hour, and then they've got to go. I mean, it's
Very
packed, and it moves quick.
Yeah.
I was disappointed that I did not see one member in a white wig and triangle hat. I wanted to see that, and none. Zero.
And knickers.
Yeah. Now, how did the story come about that they got to go to Lisa McLean's office? Because I know for us, we do outreach. We talk
Right.
about this a lot on the podcast. We do outreach once a quarter. But we go to every office and we give them and present them a gift. But we had never actually had a meeting yet with Lisa McLean. That was actually you guys really helped facilitate that relationship for us, which was amazing how God kind of used y'all.
That's cool.
Because that was your member from Michigan.
I think y'all had mentioned to me before, I think you had called me and said you would love to meet your member, and we kind of looked up to see who that was, or you may have already known that it was Lisa. And I reached out to the staff and said, we'd love to bring the guys by to sing a song for you. And they were like, yes, we would love that. And if I remember correctly, she was a little upset the next day that another member got guitars and she only got a cappella.
What I'm hearing is we've got to go back
That's
and
exactly
bring our
right. Gotta go
guitars.
back.
That's right.
bring the guitars.
We
That's what
gotta
I
do
heard.
that. And
But I'm saying, I think it's really cool that because of that moment, because of that day, we now we have this relationship with Lisa,
That is cool.
Congresswoman McLean, where we walk into her office, we get to pray with her, and her chief of staff, Nick, is always with us. We love Nick.
Yeah.
We've become really close friends with him. And it really all started because of that specific
Yeah,
day.
that's great.
so I think it's one of the many reasons why music is so transcending, we found, and why it's important that artists, singers are willing to come to DC, because it creates some of that opportunity that we have to open doors of opportunity to minister to people. And so we did kind of use y'all a little bit, I would say, that day. But
But we really wanted y'all to have a good experience too.
I was about to
great
say, from an
experience.
artist experience, that's a really cool thing too on our
I did
end
wear
as
out
well.
a pair of shoes, though.
Yeah,
I'm just
we
saying,
walked a
we
lot.
walked a lot.
we did
A
walk.
lot of walking.
One, two, I think it's interesting. At the time when we, were trying to start doing the, concerts on the Hill, I was about to be disappointed. I was, frustrated because it was a busy week. It turned out to be a really busy week, and I wanted there to be a lot of people in the room that night. But I realized the best part of that week was walking into those offices,
Absolutely.
taking
Absolutely.
time to play a song or sing a song that brightened the day of people that are extremely stressed,
Yep.
are busy, who have all kinds of stuff going on in their lives, and just 5 minutes or 10 minutes in their office, they will never forget.
Yeah.
And that is not only the power of music, but the power that we have as the children of God when we step into very dark places sometimes.
Oh, sure.
To be the light. As Bill Gaither, I think they sang the song tonight, the darker the night, the brighter the light. And in these moments, of time in American history and world history where things seem to be so dark, a little light goes a long way.
Yeah.
And I think that was, it was a kind of hit me right between the eyes, while you guys were walking with us. And for one, want to thank y'all for being so willing to walk all that way and just be used, because I know you guys about sang yourselves to death before the afternoon was over, but
Well, you know what? I'll say this though, we would do that anytime in that situation again, and I'll tell you one of the things why I say that is because the foundation of our government all those years ago, serving in Congress, serving in federal government in any capacity, is a way to give back to your country.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It was less about a job at that particular time, and more about the ability to and the means to give back to your nation to help safeguard your freedoms and the freedoms of future generations.
Right.
And so it's cool for us in a certain sense. I'm sure for you guys as well with your ministry there is it's a way to give back to people who are serving in a capacity to give back to their country. It's really a cool
like a
cool
cycle,
thing to
right?
experience. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I will say
With the deeper meaning too.
oh yeah, 100%.
I mean, you guys get to go in and pray with them. Are you guys there? How often are you guys there? Every week?
When they're in session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anytime they're in session, we're there.
Yeah.
That's just amazing. I'll say one of the things that I was curious about before I went, I can't say that I'm necessarily disappointed in this sense, but I think one of the things I was curious about was, whether or not these members of Congress are as divided personally as they are on the national stage, and in this sense,
Like in the media.
in the media, in this sense, they all work in the same buildings, in the same hallways, across the hall from each other. You know what I mean?
That's something.
You know what I mean? So
It's
these
weird when you
people,
see it in
don't-
person,
It
right?
is.
You
It
don't
really
think
is.
that.
It's like right there.
Right, you don't
Yeah.
think of that. I mean, most people would not think to say, oh, that person has an office next to that person. You know what I mean? So I was curious as to just how divided everything is, and I think and you guys would have more experience in seeing this part of it. I think there is a lot of division personally nowadays, more so than there used to be. However, I did think it was interesting. Lisa McLean actually said something that kind of stuck with me that day. She said, there's really a lot of... She goes, most people think of the congressmen and women and people in government in general as, oh man, they're just these horrible figures. They're so far to one way or the other and opinionated and this, that, and the other, and they don't get along and nothing gets done and everything. And she goes, the sad thing is, because there's a lot of really decent people on both sides of the aisle working in Congress, working in the Senate, working in every capacity of the federal government. She's like, but we don't get on TV because it's more entertaining for these news stations to watch people on the far side of either side of the aisle go at it. You know what I mean?
really
It's
true.
That's a good point. It's a very good point. And I think we've always tried to encourage people to turn off the news, because we were just talking before we started the podcast or recording tonight. Everybody's trying to sell something.
Mm-hmm.
Every news channel is trying to sell something.
Absolutely.
And when we can begin to see people as human beings first, that Jesus loves, as he loves all of us, that each are valuable intrinsically, every life, every person, and are worthy of our time, not only to just get to know them, but to share the good news of Jesus Christ with them.
That's right.
That is an exceptional way to live and to think and to walk through life.
Yeah.
Because just like what we've done, y'all singing tonight to a huge group of people in the Mabee Center here in Tulsa, each of those people are intrinsically unique,
Oh,
different,
absolutely,
have different political opinions probably, but they're all able to enjoy and to love each other with a commonality, and that is the music. But far beyond that, it's the one that we're singing about, right?
That's right.
That's right.
And so, in Washington, it's the same thing. We've tried to rally around the cross of Jesus Christ and learn, to love people as He loves them, to see them as He sees them, and that is as valuable things. And people, what an opportunity we have to just serve in that way. And y'all did, and I tell people, Amber and I talk about this all the time. Y'all as artists, because I'm married to an artist. I was once an artist. Y'all are artists. To have artists like all of y'all who are willing to serve and just step in and walk the halls and just jump in is so refreshing. And it's really a joy for all of us to get to do that with you. And that kind of leads to, so that was June of last year. In July, we had a trip with Kirk Cameron. And
Yeah.
that was a lot of fun.
That was a ton of fun.
We had a blast, and
I heard y'all saying the theme song.
We did.
Yeah.
The theme song.
The
Theme song.
theme song. We
And
actually
Kirk sang
started
with
singing
you.
his sister's theme
Yeah,
song.
you did.
At one point. So, we opened up
The
with that
wrong
one.
theme song.
Yeah.
and he said, nice.
Yeah, he did.
Nice.
So Kirk, if you're listening to this, I did not tell them to do that.
But we had to finish the song.
I thought it was
Started, we had
hilarious.
to finish the song.
And he sang it with us,
He did.
which was great.
Even better.
And by the
Even
way,
better.
Even better.
for anybody who's wondering, Kirk's a wonderful, wonderful guy. I mean, seriously wonderful. It was great
Yeah.
spending time with
Yeah.
everybody there. Which I will say, Nathan, it's been cool. You've the times that we've been there, you've pulled in artists who are really great to be around.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I mean, you've done a great job at that. Not that there's. I'm not. Yeah.
You're digging a hole.
I'm digging a hole. I'm
a
just
big
gonna
hole.
stop talking.
Go back to politics,
Stop
Levi.
talking.
Go back to politics.
No, but
22.
they're great. But they're great with the people on the trips too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because a lot of times artists, and I understand. Like I'm an artist myself, and you guys are artists. You know this. There are times where there's a lot of artists that they're like a little bit of privacy because they're around people all the time, and it can get exhausting to be around and be on per se
Yeah,
all
sure.
the time.
All the time.
But you've done a great job of pulling in artists who are really great about being present with the event and being present with the people who are there. It's a really special thing. It is
Yeah.
a really special thing.
Well, and that leads to, I think, one of the most beautiful moments, which I was not a part of that night. The last night, we were, some of our artist friends are telling us to go to bed, okay? But the last night of the trip, we were at Constitution Hall, and I was having a pretty stressful day, trying to
Yeah.
run around and fix things and deal with issues. But
And it's
y'all,
funny because the people that are on the trip, they never know.
that day they did.
But that particular day,
Was the
they
first
happen
time.
to have to know.
Yeah, but the Constitution Hall there was all kinds of crazy
That
stuff
was
going on.
disappointing.
But I would love for y'all to get your perspective because I know at least you were downstairs when this happened, but maybe all of you were down there whenever the group was down in the basement singing.
Oh,
but,
yes.
Levi, maybe you can tell some of that story because I was not there. I've only seen a video of the singing.
So what ended up happening was, and I'll go by my best memory here. What ended up happening, there was a situation, and
They couldn't go upstairs yet, right?
We couldn't
Is
go
that-
upstairs.
So they were eating their Chick-fil-A
Off the
and they
floor.
didn't have any tables.
But did you explain why that was?
Constitution
have we ever-
Hall was being quite difficult. They didn't want it. They didn't have any tables set up.
Yeah.
They weren't going to give any chairs and tables. They said if you
Which
want to
was
go
not
eat,
part of the original plan.
yeah, that was
It
not
wasn't part of
the
the
plan.
original plan.
Doors weren't supposed to open. People got in early, right?
Well, no, it wasn't. No.
We were supposed to be eating dinner down there,
Right, okay,
and they
okay.
just didn't have anything ready
Ready to
set
go.
up. And they basically just left everyone to their own devices.
So
and
y'all, we were literally. This is not figurative. We were literally eating Chick-fil-A off of the floor in the basement.
In their box, but just sitting on the floor.
We were sitting on the floor. We
This
were
is not
eating-
boding
we were
well
eating-
for
Eating
trips
all
in
the
the
nuggets
future.
and fell.
And it wasn't the fault of Passages DC. It wasn't the fault. I mean, really,
Nice save,
And it wasn't Chick-fil-A's fault either.
it wasn't Chick-fil-A's fault.
It's never
That's
Chick-fil-A's
God's
fault.
chicken.
But there was
Their pleasure
there were
to serve you on the floor.
that's funny. There were some problems with the venue. So we're all down there eating. And it's just it was
One
a
hassle after another.
it was a bad situation, and everybody kind of knew that it was a stressful situation for the staff, and everybody that had went on the trip was very understand. I mean, they were understanding of what was going on.
And to add to that too, by that point,
Everybody kind of knew what was going on, and it wasn't the fault of Passages DC. It was more on the venue than anything else. And they knew that the staff was frustrated and that there was just a lot going on and everybody was very stressed. And somebody had an idea. I forget who it was. And again, I'm going off of my
think it
best
was my
recollection
dad,
here.
actually, right?
It might have been your dad. But they were like, why don't we just sing a little bit down here, And it wasn't necessarily designed to turn into like a worship thing. It started more as fun than anything, just to kill time while we were all stuck in the basement. And, we started singing, and I had led some music down there, and it was more of we started into some worship music, and singing some really wonderful songs. And it really did just turn into almost a small worship service in the basement of Constitution Hall, which was really an interesting experience, to the point where it ended up getting so loud, and there was just such an amazing thing going on that it caught the attention of the employees upstairs, and they walked down, and they were asking us what we were doing.
Yeah.
And we told them we were singing, and they said, well, you're not having church, are you? Because
There will be no singing.
well, no. What they were concerned about was I don't know. Is Constitution Hall is that publicly owned, or is that private? Is that a private property?
It gets public money, but it is privately
Private.
owned.
Okay.
Daughters
Well, there
of
was
the American
something where they weren't allowed
Like
to
a
have
separation of
church,
church and
like a
state
church
issue. Yeah.
service. And so they were very concerned that what we were doing was a church service.
Yeah.
And they were going to ask us to stop. And your dad ended up clarifying with them, no, we're just singing, And
I
so-
remember upstairs, I was super stressed out, and I'm walking down the hallway there to deal with another issue. And I remember hearing the music upstairs. And at the time, I didn't really know what was going on. I was like, well, great, have fun down there.
Yeah.
But later, seeing the video, it was such a beautiful moment of people in a difficult situation taking time to recognize that it wasn't about them, it wasn't about anything other than we were there, and God was just moving in that moment.
Yeah.
And, it was a magnificent thing to watch on video, but I'm glad you all got to kind of experience that and help lead that in person.
Well, it was cool that everybody kind of stopped to recognize it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was obviously the weekend, very busy weekend, and the Lord had done some things over the weekend anyways. He'd showed up already over the weekend. But it was really cool that in this really stressful situation, and really not a pleasant situation for everybody involved, it was really cool that everybody just stopped to take time to soak that up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it was really cool to be there and be able to witness it in person.
Yeah.
It was very cool. Very
Nathan and I talk about it a lot. It's a pattern in almost every major trip that we do. Like we talk about, we bring groups to DC and all that, but we actually do these trips with passages like what y'all experienced, where we bring in artists and then Kirk Cameron and other speakers, and then we invite people to come on these trips. And I think this trip particularly had 200-300 people on it.
Yeah.
220, I think.
And so you'll always notice that they sort of become a unit by midway through the trip.
Definitely.
And every one that we've done, that's happened. And they kind of become this family almost. They get to know each other, and they've, once you experience these little bumps in the road, as we call them, like where you sing in the basement, that's unifying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because nobody else understands that, but you can always go back to these people and say, they were there, they knew what we went through.
Right, and they remember it too, because we go to places and it doesn't matter where we're at. Sometimes we'll step out and we're at the table and stuff, and they'll say, "I was at the the DC trip,"
Yeah.
and they
I was in the basement with my Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, exactly. They
And we
You
say,
bonded around that moment.
yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, it
You never
is,
know.
and that whole experience. I think Kirk didn't even know what to expect that week. It was a new experience for him too, but he was so blown away by the fact that people had become so unified during that experience together, and the buses, they were all having a lot of fun with each other. Just a really great time. And then to go back to the hotel after that event that night and just have a great time singing songs together, sharing some testimonies of what God had done. And I've asked a lot of people, and I had a lot of emails that came in after that trip from people that said, shocking to me, what Kurt, we had all hoped for, that the big event was going to be the most life-changing part of the week for people. It was that moment down in the basement.
Yeah.
Or that breakfast that morning with the congressman from Alabama, sharing his testimony,
cool.
that people said, I could roll tide. That's right.
Which was such a great, by the way, such a great morning.
Oh my gosh, it really was.
That was such a great morning. That was a really cool little breakfast to be at that day. His story was amazing. I loved that. I loved hearing that.
And Ben Calhoun just did such a great job always setting things up for the speaker. And that setting was, obviously we had two Barrys that week. We had Barry Moore in the morning, and the night before we had Barry Loudermilk speaking at the dinner. And Barry Moore's story, I guess maybe I've heard it so many times now, not to negate it because it's a powerful story, but I had heard it so many times, I just didn't even think that it was going to be this life-changing experience.
Sure.
And over and over and over and over again, I've had people say, that was such a life-changing moment for me to hear his story, because it did bring some humanity, a story that they had probably never would hear on the news, about a guy that God called to run for Congress that was going to go to jail.
Right.
Falsely accused, and how God worked it out, and he's now a member of Congress.
Right.
And serving Jesus faithfully in that regard. And I think that's really, leading into the next piece of that there are godly Christian people that are working in Congress on a daily basis that passionately love Jesus.
Right.
And what would y'all say to people that maybe are listening to this in the pew or at their house, on their couch, or driving
on their way to work,
about how, in your perspective, can we as Christians encourage those people after you've spent time not only walking the halls with us on multiple occasions, but coming on trips like this? What have you seen as far as the ability to encourage these people?
As far encourage as far as the state of our federal government, or the
Christian folks in
Their
DC.
daily life.
Christian folks in DC. Okay, so one of the things I'll say is that it's, even though you don't see it on TV a lot, God is still very much alive and active in our federal government.
Absolutely.
And there are some really wonderful people, and not just wonderful people. It's one thing to be wonderful people, but it's another thing to be God-fearing people. And there are several, more than most people realize, God-fearing people in our federal government. And I'll tell you, it's encouraging in the sense of the people who are there, who have these testimonies. They have really incredible testimonies.
Yeah.
And they've got a real opportunity not only to make a difference in in our country, and and the political state of our country, but in the spiritual state of our country as well, and the spiritual state of other congressmen and women around them. I mean, these are people they interact with daily.
Yep.
And it's an opportunity for them to show Jesus, not only on a national scale, but to the people they work with, the people around them.
Yep.
So I will say God is alive and active in our federal government, and
and our Christian congressmen and women and senators, they walk in some very unique shoes.
Yeah.
It's difficult to know the needs, and until folks like y'all and what you do, where you are able to go in and pray with them, which is really the best thing that you can do for them.
Yeah,
really is
right. I was about to say, they need
it's
to
the
be
best thing that we
doused
can do
with prayer.
Oh yeah, held up high, and but the fact that you're able to go in and listen to them if they have a request or anything like that.
And you're going to get to do that
I'm
soon.
going to get to do that
Yeah,
soon.
because you're coming on outreach.
Right.
So you guys know at this point we do 4 outreaches a year. And we're very excited, Rob, and you know maybe we'll drag the boys at some point, but Rob's going to come with a good friend of yours,
Right.
God willing, to be part of our next outreach in September. And it's where we get to walk the halls over 3 days, 2.5, 3 days of time to hit every single office in Congress and just let them know that we love them, that Jesus loves them, and just speak a little life into their office for a few moments. And it's a really cool opportunity, and so we're looking forward to having you
Oh, yeah.
there.
Wait,
Okay.
you are going? Am I going?
No, you're not.
Well, hey,
If
and
you
you know
really
what I
wanna
love
go, you
about
can.
that, and what I love about the ministry that you guys have there, is that you guys, it's not a partisan thing, and it's when I say that, the natural response is duh, because Jesus didn't have a political party, and Jesus is not a there is no political affiliation when it comes to our faith. Our faith is it transcends
Yep.
a
Politics.
political
Yep.
affiliation.
Yep.
And it's wonderful to me, and it's encouraging, I hope, to everybody who's listening, that you guys are able, because of the nature of what you do and the nature of your ministry, you are able to go and visit every office. Doesn't matter what the letter is next to the door, you're able to go and minister wherever it's needed. And I think that the response, and because you never know, I mean, yes, there's people that you see on a more regular basis, but you never know the impact that you can leave on somebody, and that's not even just a political impact.
Yeah.
I mean, them personally.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, there's people that you would never think would accept prayer, you know,
Right.
because of certain ideologies that they have, certain, you know, whatever the case is, whether it's political, religious, otherwise, that they would accept prayer from you guys. But you never know the kind of seed that plants. You know, and even
that's all
seeing
we're called
it,
to do.
right?
Right.
Well,
Plant the
and
seeds.
the people that you are praying with and ministering to are really only there for a season. So the things that they are working
Right.
on are, I shouldn't say temporary, because they're wanting them to be lasting, but
Yes.
but
Yeah.
they are there in a temporary role,
Right, exactly.
because somebody
They
knew
could always possibly
they could
be
always be
replaced
gone.
in a couple
However,
of years.
the seeds that you're planting and the prayer that goes into it and the relationships that you make there, they will have an eternal impact.
Right.
Hopefully.
Yeah, you know, what we've always said in churches is the world comes to Washington and Washington touches the world. Not only every state, every corner of this country, but all over the globe. Every decision that's made touches and affects the entire globe, because the world does look to Washington, D.C. as the center of power, really that affects and brings change all over the world. That's why countries send representatives to our country looking for help or whatever that may be that they're looking for.
We were in a service recently.
Yep.
Remember this? Our family was singing at a church in Georgia, close to Atlanta, and the pastor there is a phenomenal pastor. I mean, I waited for Nathan to come to this specific church because we love singing there every year. It's called Buford Church of God in Buford, Georgia. They're amazing. And their pastor spoke, and I was waiting on pins and needles because I knew once Nathan heard him, he would just be in awe of this pastor and how he's just awesome. He's an awesome speaker. But he really is just one of those pastors that lets the Spirit take over when it comes. You know what I mean? And it's not that they have to follow the plan. It's like most churches have these wonderful plans drawn out of how the service is going to look.
Right.
He doesn't mind throwing that plan out the window if the Holy Spirit shows up. And there was a lady there, and she was from Africa, and she started praying, and we couldn't understand her, but he did. He understood her. And he said, I know you don't know what she's saying, but she's praying for America. He said, because what we don't understand is that she, as a African woman who is literally still a
African citizen.
Yeah, she's still a citizen. They want America to win because if America wins, they win.
Right.
And so she was praying for revival in America
Wow.
on behalf of the country of Africa.
Right.
And I sat back in that service in awe because I had never thought about what he had said. He said, there are other countries praying for us to win and have revival. They are praying that we turn this country around because their country depends on it.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
I had never thought of it that way. You know, I mean,
Yes.
I think I always think of it in a selfish realm in a weird way. It's like we live here, so we're always concerned about our well-being, our family's
Right,
well-being,
right.
the future of our kids, all that kind of stuff. But we don't think about the global aspect
Right.
of the responsibility that we have as a country.
And the impact, the world impact that our nation has.
Crazy.
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
we forget about that
You
a lot of
can't-
times. We live in a bubble over here.
People outside of here, they depend on a whole.
Well, people
lot.
give
We
their
become
lives
so-
to try to come here,
Yep.
right?
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
they will literally risk their lives just to step foot
Yep.
on our land.
Yes.
And as we always say this all the time, as many problems as we have, and Lord knows this country has
A lot.
its problems. It's still the best country in the world to live in.
It is.
You
At the end of the
can't-
day, it's still the best country in the world to live in.
I think it's impossible to be the most powerful nation in the world, which I would consider that we still are, the most powerful nation in the world, and not realize that you have a world impact.
Absolutely.
To me, they would go
true.
hand in hand.
Absolutely, they do.
true.
And because of the nature of our federal government and the nature of Washington D.C. being such a center of power, what I find fascinating about what you guys do, when you guys visit these people, these congressmen and women, you know, while they're doing their jobs and they take a little bit of time out of their day. We talked earlier about their busy schedule. I mean, every day they've got an itinerary, and I mean, it's packed. You guys are one of, if not the only, I would venture to say you might be the only, one of the only things on their itinerary that you guys don't want anything from them.
Yeah.
We don't.
There's like, if you think about it, every single thing on their list of things to do, every person they meet with, everybody, they want something from them. Whether that's, fill in the blank. All you guys want to do is pray with them
Yeah.
because you care about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that says something. I think that's a really powerful thing, and I think that it has a huge potential to make an impact on people's lives.
Yeah, it does.
Because when they have the influence, and people around them are always trying to jockey for position to get them to use that influence to do something for them, whatever it is, however it's big or small, whatever. And you guys just come in and you care about them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, okay, that's cool. Don't want that.
Yeah.
Well, what can we do for you? What can we pray for you? How can we minister to you?
Yeah.
You
When
know?
I first started dating Nathan, I remember he told me, what he was doing in DC, and at that time it was still kind of new for him. But I remember thinking, okay, so you're just telling me you just go in these offices, like it's just no big deal. Because I was like you, I'm like, you're just telling me we can walk in the office.
Yeah.
I mean, I just thought you have to know somebody to even get in there.
Right.
It's kind of like a celebrity status to me.
Right.
And once I started going up there to DC with Nathan all the time, I started realizing how long these relationships take to build trust.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you got to think about it from this standpoint. If you're a member of Congress, you can't trust anybody.
Nope.
Because everybody has an agenda against you.
Sure.
Or they might want to use it against you for political reasons. They can't trust anybody. And Nathan, has been there for years, and he has worked relationships with these people to build their trust to when we can now, because of what Nathan has built, we have been able to walk into these offices and they trust the name Hope to the Hill because
Right.
of what Nathan has done. And it's easy for us to walk in and just say, can we pray for you? And they go, absolutely, you can. I mean, that baffled me when I first started going with Nathan. I'm like, they're just telling you their issues in life.
Right.
I mean, I don't go up to people and just tell my issues in life. I mean,
Right.
those are, I gotta trust you to
it's-
be able to share
Right.
my life problems, right?
Right.
And that's when I really started noticing and realizing how much trust they had.
Yeah.
Not just in Hope of the Hill, but really in Nathan. And they were just like, hey, this is a person I can just spill everything to, and I know it's not going to go anywhere. They're not going to put this in the media. They're not going to use this against me. They are here just because they care about me, and they want to pray for me, and they care about my well-being.
Yeah.
My well-being.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing, that's my most favorite thing about the ministry aspect and when we do outreach, is that when we get those moments, like with Lisa McLean, right? We
Yeah.
had never had that opportunity with her. We didn't know for sure if she would be open to it because we had never met her before,
Right.
really. And now we have that opportunity. When we go into her office, she takes her shoes off.
Yeah.
I think it's the greatest thing in the world.
That's cool.
Because that's how comfortable she is, right?
Sits in her chair
she sits
with
in
her
her
dog.
chair with her dog, and she takes her shoes off, and she just starts telling us things to pray for.
Wow.
And that's the coolest job in the world to have, right? Even though it's a ministry,
Y'all help
it's
facilitate that.
you did, and it's just, I mean, that to me was just the coolest moment to see a member of Congress who's just
Yeah.
that comfortable to say, oh, I just breathe for a minute because it's you guys. I want to be that person for
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah.
I want to be where it's somebody you could just feel like you can breathe for a
Yeah.
moment.
Right.
A breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
I think that's really what it boils down to is giving to people, and being known as encouragers and servants. And what an opportunity. But one last thing before we go, each of you, because Jacob has barely said anything, and he actually asked me not to ask him any questions. Yes, he said he didn't want to ask.
I said,
answer
ask me about the
questions.
food. Ask me about the food.
All right, so this is a lightning round here. Levi, favorite thing since you've come to DC 3 or 4 times now with us, favorite thing about DC that you've experienced so far? Quick version.
Is that how? Well, wait a
I
minute.
can tell you mine. I can tell you mine
Okay,
right now.
Jacob, you go
yeah, well, I
first.
got it
Let
on my
Jacob
mind.
go first.
We did like a roller coaster thing. I forget what the name of it
Museum
was.
of the
Museum of the
Bible?
Bible?
Yeah, Museum of the Bible. Yeah, and it showed you everything, like on the Washington Monument.
Scripture
and
references.
yeah, scripture references throughout the city. It was really cool to see.
Yeah.
I think that's probably
Your
my
favorite
thing.
thing? All right, Rob.
My favorite thing is finding out that a very famous designer, architect,
Oh, yeah.
who did the Washington Monument, his name is Robert Mills.
Isn't that cool?
Hey, that's the greatest.
Maybe you're
I
related.
Listen here, I could
What
be
a guy.
related.
Probably are related. You need to look that up.
Well,
Might
who
be owed
knows?
some money.
I could be, yeah.
We'll find out.
Yeah,
We'll find out.
Find out.
All right,
yeah,
Levi.
you're in DC. Can you figure that out?
I will see what I can
Okay,
find
I'll
out
get on
for
that.
you.
I'm not gonna lie. I think my favorite thing that I've experienced so far is being able to spend time up on Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
Because in our 3 branches of government, I mean, so much. I mean, everybody knows about the White House. Everybody knows about the Supreme Court. But the inner workings of Capitol Hill and the United States House of Representatives and the United States Senate, it's all so complex and so intricate, and every single thing about the laws of our country are hammered out on Capitol Hill. It's really cool to see just not only how busy it is, but just how everything's. I mean, it's very efficient.
Yeah.
Cohesively.
It's more efficient than most. I mean, I know the running gag is that nothing gets done on Capitol Hill,
It's true.
but it's crazy that it's
is
such an
efficient.
efficient place.
Yep.
People need to
it's
see it.
mind-blowing.
People
And
need to see it at least one time in their life. It's an incredible thing.
And the very thing that where people say that nothing gets done on Capitol Hill, you can go right back to our founders who put things in place where people can't just do willy-nilly what they want to do.
Yeah.
Which was
They're-
brilliant.
Which was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Far
Absolutely
beyond-
brilliant.
Far beyond what we could ever understand.
Yeah.
Or even what they probably could understand. But however, somehow, and I would tell you that God was in this.
Yep.
Somehow
Oh, absolutely.
they had to they had the wisdom to put these checks and balances in place, and probably because of where they came from.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
And
think
said,
of all those
hey,
men that had grown up all over Europe, different forms of government in Europe, that didn't want to do things the way that they had been done, but took bits and pieces of things they had learned in their respective, where they came from, and built this beautiful document that has governed this country. That is not a fluid document.
Right.
It is a static document. It's a document that has not changed, at least very few times,
Right.
since our founding. That is the governing document of this nation. And what an opportunity.
And a lot of people don't realize we failed. We failed once
Yep.
because we drafted those Articles of Confederation, and it failed.
Yep.
It didn't work. And so from that failure, they were able to come together and draft what we now know as the United States Constitution.
Yep.
That was also one of my favorite things, is
Oh.
seeing the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and
yeah, isn't
the
that
original.
cool?
they're all
It's
sitting
like national
together.
treasure.
Yeah.
It's like being in the movie.
Except I
Yeah.
want to go sometime when there's not really hardly anybody there.
It's hard
It's
to get up
hard
there
to-
and see
oh,
it.
you are
gotta go in the
guys.
morning.
People
Yeah.
go through, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you can't stand here and read the whole
Well,
thing.
when you come in a few weeks, we'll
Some
do
people
it.
should stand there and read the whole thing.
Yeah.
do
well,
our
I know,
best.
but let me
Just
give you
for
the
everybody-
pocket version.
Yeah,
everyone,
we've
just-
got the pocket version.
I know.
For everyone
give it to
listening
them.
at home, the Declaration of Independence, you can't even read it.
Yeah.
It's faded
It's
so
faded.
much.
Oh, I
right.
know, but people try.
Everybody needs to
And
go to
you
that
spend the
city
whole day.
at least once in their life.
Yes,
It is such
I
a
would say
Well,
that.
cool
and we
thing to
hope
see.
that you won't not come back. We hope that you'll come back many more times, and we can't wait
Love to.
see what God is going to do. But guys, thanks for hanging, even though it's 2 a.m.
Hey,
We're going to go to bed because everybody has to sing
Yes.
tomorrow.
I went to sleep 30 minutes ago.
Thank you to Hope in the
thank
Hill
you.
and everything that you guys do.
Well, we
Yes.
love you
Yes.
guys,
Pleasure.
and
You
it's
guys
been
do
a
a great
joy. And Levi got his beautiful Sound of Freedom
Script.
script.
Yes,
I
I
wrote
did.
one, and
What?
he's very excited about that. And thank you. That's a thank you. I have more. I'll get you.
I'll sign it for
And
you.
don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. You can do that on Apple. You can do it on Amazon. You can do it on Spotify.
all those things.
All
And,
those places. We would appreciate it, and give us a rating. Also, don't forget to write us questions. If you have questions for future podcasts, we'll be glad to answer those.
This is in fact the longest one we've had to date.
Well, we're only technically 2 minutes over
Still
our
the longest
time.
one to date.
Yeah, well,
You
it's
guys
okay.
need to
We had good conversation.
do a blooper outtake.
Yeah,
really do need a
what
blooper.
y'all will never know is how many times it took us to do this podcast. But anyways, we love you guys. We'll see you in just a couple days. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
y'all so much.
Pleasure.
And
Love you guys.
And good night.